Okay, I've tried to record this so many times, and so many times I end up rambling. So, hopefully this doesn't end up being as rambly. Like, unless I get really, really, really bad again. I don't plan to re-record it, because God. So, how do I see the LGBT community being in the future? Yes, that's exactly how I see it. um, or you could argue I don't see it because I'm blind. That was terrible. I know I'm an awful person and I'm a fucking ableist. But, so, the way I see the LGBT community going in the future, I see it splitting off into two different directions. One being the current mainstream LGBT community that is social justice, everything's racist, everything's homophobic, everything's transphobic, xenophobic, everything's a phobic. Like, jeez. Jeez phobic, yes. Even that. Maybe even phobic. You're being afraid? You're being so phobic of my phobias. Oh my god. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. And I see that being one group, and I see another group consisting of, I don't know if it'd be anti-SJW-ish, or if it would be maybe a more conservative approach to things, or or whatever. And so, like, why do I think it would split into two things? Well, any group tends to do this once they get large enough. And usually they're pretty damn polar opposite, and they will be at each other's throats. For any people out there who might be blind and still watching my videos, it's a lot. It would be a lot like ACB versus NFB, which American Council for the Blind and then National Federation for the Blind. And yeah, I mean, and dude, those two, you'd be surprised that just, they have very different ways about going about how blind people should be treated, and they're all for the positive, but still, like, one's more, let's let them be comfortable, the other's more like, hey, let's make these people stronger, more individual people. And I think depending on who you are, I think it's going to depend on where you fall into that category. And surprise, surprise, both sides hate each other. It's terrible, actually. But I kind of see the LGBT community doing the same thing. I use the blind thing because I compare a lot of my blindness to LGBT things, simply because that's some of my best ways of understanding it. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they might be fighting towards the same general goal of equal rights, but they might go out it a different way, like um, making sure that maybe these people really want to transition, and or like how should it be funded? How should transgender surgeries be funded? Or I mean, honestly, I can't really think of any reasons over gays, but at the same time, I'm also like, maybe? I mean, I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. Maybe just one protects religious rights and the other is like, fuck them. And if you know me and think you know exactly which side I'm thinking would say fuck them. Um, so yeah, I mean, I see us really separating off into two different categories. Um, Other than that, I think there are going to be a lot of people who choose to kind of just either not be a part of it or not have any interest in it. Uh, just like some blind people, they're just like, I'm good. I'll accept things from both as long as you guys are actually helping me. That's fine. Uh, and like nowadays, I mean, there are a lot of gays and bisexuals out there who aren't really like, I mean, yeah, some of them are kind of closeted, but most of them are very, they're open about it, and no one really cares. Like, honestly, no one gives two shits about it. Like, they're just gay, and that's the end of the story. And then, they might have a husband or a wife or something. Uh, and I think in a lot of ways, transgender people will eventually become that way of just like, they'll eventually get all the rights figured out about like, transitioning, and eventually I think people are going to calm down a little bit over it and realize, yeah, I mean, look, let's be real. I don't belong in the girls' restroom. Like, I'd probably get my ass kicked if I went into the girls' restroom. um, and just the same, like, a transgender girl sometimes, uh, although it's harder for them to pass, honestly, but I've seen a couple of passable, very well passable ones, like voice and all, and this is why you don't record after taking sleeping medication. um, and it's like, obviously, if they went into the guys' restroom, guys would be very uncomfortable. Like, are you lost? And like, yeah, and I, I see it becoming. Eventually, people are gonna be like, you know what? It really doesn't matter. We shouldn't be as concerned over this crap as we have been, and let's just let people transition. And I think it's gonna be a longer process for non-binary individuals, but I think eventually we'll reach that state too. And I think, and obviously right now, it's really hard because for non-binary folk out there, it's like everyone sees non-binary people as these cringy social justice liberal uh fuck you kind of people. Uh, and it's just not true. I mean, honestly, I'll be real. I'm kind of a fuck you kind of person, but but I also respect your opinions too, and as long as you give me a valid argument, I'm cool with you believing whatever you want to believe in. Like, just provide something valid of an argument. Um, and a lot of people look at us right now as if we are these really, really cringy people, and I think it's sad. Honestly, it sucks because I don't want to be seen as that. Because honestly, while yeah, I do use gender neutral pronouns, specifically they them. I also am like, hey, I understand. I look like a dude for the most part. Like, so if you gotta call me he him, then fine. Like, I get it. Um, and if I really want to be called they them that badly, I will become more androgynous. Like, it's just simple as that. Uh, because I cannot realistically expect people to look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, that is definitely a genderless person." Yep. Uh, we should definitely make sure to use they them pronouns. And most people don't even know what pronouns are. Like, honestly, the English language is screwed up. So yeah, I mean, what do you expect? I'm not. I don't think. I don't think we should have realistic expectations, and I've seen that. I've seen a couple other people who are slowly becoming more. I've seen a few. I've seen one non-binary person specifically who has very a logical approach to it, and definitely does not agree with all the crap the LGBT community has been doing lately. Um, I don't know. His YouTube's channel's like Joey Blood Wolf, something like that. I don't honestly like. I don't know. If you dig around in my liked videos, you can probably find something. But yeah, I mean, I and I recently, because I will occasionally look up non-binary, just for a general search on YouTube, in desperate hopes that I'm not the only one trying to show the world that we're not these cringy people. Because God, it's awful. It is so awful. Like, I hate myself for being non-binary sometimes because of the LGBT community and how cringy they have made the expectation of demanding that you use the right pronoun. So yeah, I'm just, ugh, it's cringe. It is so cringe. And like I said, recently I saw another logical kind of approach to non-binary identities argument that was actually for the positive. And I was like, thank you. Thank you, God. Love you. And honestly, I know at least 2 or 3 other non-binary individuals who are like really chill people who are not ultra cringe, and in fact are very chill and are understanding that, yeah, they look a certain way and they're probably going to be gendered that way, and they don't have the unrealistic expectation of, okay, everyone needs to address me as this whenever I look like this. Like, it's just as simple as that. I think slowly we're going to get more people who are more logical, and hopefully people who can provide better argument than me, uh, or at least can have better charisma than me, and who doesn't go on rambles about other things. Like, geez, I think, in the next couple years we'll start seeing these non-binary people start separating from the the box that they were put into by the LGBT community. And, these people will come to realize that, yeah, these safe spaces are not so safe. And I don't always, I don't really completely agree with liberal ideals. In fact, I think I might actually be more conservative. or I'm, or I'm religious, and these people are treating me like shit because of my religion. And honestly, it's hard to, I'll be honest, it's hard to be a minority and to have your own opinion. Because at least if you're a minority and you are a sheep, you at least fit into a group. But if you actually think for yourself and your thoughts for yourself happen to go against that minority's general thoughts on things, then you're kind of like, oh no. So yeah, I mean, I do see more legitimate non-binary people who aren't just gonna yell in general, but who are also not gonna just use the "it's a social construct and I shouldn't have to prove my gender to anybody, you bastards." Like, I'm sorry, I can't stand those people who are like, I shouldn't have to educate you, or I don't have to prove my gender to you, or just, it's a social construct. Get over it. Like, I can't stand that. I really can't. It's just not a well-formed argument. And I think that we need, and I think, slowly we're going to start getting those people who are like, yeah, there's not a lot of science currently backing us up. And maybe people who are like me, like, hey, I bet you that there is a similar science in non-binary identities as there is in transgender identities. Or maybe there's other complications mixed in with it that make you not completely feel male or female. Or, in my case of, maybe it's a form of dissociation. I'm not going to say that, like, my gender can't possibly be wrong, but I'm like, but from what I can feel, the way my dysphoria is, and honestly, just the fact that I am one of those few people who went from completely transitioning in into the opposite sex to, or opposite gender, whatever, uh, to being like, this doesn't quite feel right, but I know this feels better by far than where I was at, and I really don't want to go to female. Like, I want to stick at least somewhat masculine, but I don't really want to be considered a guy. So, and it took me some time to kind of realize that. But yeah, because freaking when all you do is not give real arguments, it's hard to look at this and say, yeah, that's a legitimate argument, yeah, and be okay with who you are, because you're like, oh my god, I'm screwed up in the head, I'm insane, or whatever. Like, yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, I do think there could be some science there, but till until some of these, until I think maybe down the line, as more people from the LGBT community, like transgender people and non-binary people, are like, I really do want to prove this, but I don't, and gender studies is not the way to go to prove this. I think people are going to start realizing, yeah, I need to go into I'm going to go into like neurology or psychology or whatever, and I'm going to start, instead of wasting the time in gender studies, they're going to actually go into, hey, here's an idea. Let's look at the brain of non-binary individuals and see how their brains are. Or, start really studying the psychology of it, because maybe it's, let's see what's going on here. Like, and I think outside of just non-binary, I think as outside of validating gender, I think, like, dude, wouldn't it be interesting to see why non-binary people feel the way they do? What's going through their minds? What's going on in these people's heads? Is there a chemical imbalance? What's going on? And it's so I think that's a good reason. And I do think people are going to start realizing that, and people are going to strive towards that. I think that eventually we'll have studies being done on this, and I think there's going to be a lot more controversy within the LGBT community, and like I said, I do see it splitting apart, and I do see it, but I also see some of us becoming more realistic about things, and I see more of us proving that, hey, we're not like these people. Please recognize our gender identities. But if you don't, I can understand the real. I have enough reality check here to understand why. I will provide my reasons. You provide your reasons, and maybe we can come to an agreement of terms, or maybe whatever. Like, just being professional about it, just, and not throwing a pissy fit or whatever, and realizing that these people non-binary people are separate from this cringe that is the current day LGBT community. And I see that maybe long time into the future, once many rights are met, I think there are probably still going to be those people who are like, oh, these people are still discriminated against when they're not really at all. And they'll eventually find something else to whine and complain about, really. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I see us separating and chilling out a little bit, but I don't see a complete disappearance of the SJW-like mentality, because I think that is just a trait that humans have, that they want to feel like they're fighting for something. I mean, and who knows? I mean, my thoughts could be wrong, but I really do think this is the general direction that we are going. And who knows? I mean, we might come to find non-binary people, or there's something else going on besides just gender dysphoria. There might, or maybe we'll just accept the social construct, because I mean, some of it really is social construct. So yeah, I mean, feel free to share your thoughts on where you think we're going in the future, and just, what you think of these thoughts. And like I said, I mean, these are my thoughts, and keeping in mind that I do identify in the genderqueer, non-binary realm, of course I'm going to be a little bit hopeful for the non-binary identities, because of my own feelings that I have, and I hope that other people can start to come forward and say, hey, I'm not like these people, but I have gender dysphoria, and I'm non-binary, and I feel dysphoria in a different way than just a typical female to male, and I am not going to be unrealistic, and you can either like me or hate me. Either way, I'm still here, and you're just going to have to deal with me. So, I mean, of course, I'm going to be hopeful for that. So, yeah, like I said, if you guys have any other thoughts, feel free to share. My brain is dead now, so this is what happens when you do things and other things, like sleeping medication and recording videos. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Sorry for any tangents. I know I'm bad about it, but I'm still trying to get better. I'm getting better with a lot of things, so... Oh well. Bye.